Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. 7 days. That's what she asked for. 7 days to think about our marriage and find clarity. When my wife Melissa sat me down that Thursday evening with that serious expression on her face, I knew exactly what was coming. Women don't ask for breaks to save marriages. They ask for breaks to test driver placements. But here's the thing about me. I don't panic. I don't beg. I listen. I process. And I make calculated decisions. It's what made me good at my job as a data analyst. It's what would get me through this. I arrived home from work around 7:45 on that Thursday in late September. Boston was transitioning into fall, that perfect time of year when the humidity finally breaks and you can breathe again. I was loosening my tie as I walked into our back bay brownstone apartment, already thinking about dinner, maybe catching the end of the Red Sox game. The place was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes your instincts perk up. Melissa was sitting at the dining table, hands folded in front of her like she was about to conduct a business meeting. She'd positioned herself in the chair facing the door, clearly waiting for me. Her posture was rigid, rehearsed. Every detail of her positioning felt calculated. The lighting in the room cast shadows that made her look smaller somehow. Or maybe that was just what happens when someone's about to deliver bad news. This wasn't spontaneous. This was a presentation she'd been preparing. "I need to talk to you about us," she said. I set my bag down and took the chair across from her. "Okay." She blinked, clearly thrown by my calm. She'd expected me to tense up, to immediately go defensive. Instead, I just waited. "I've been thinking a lot about where we are," she continued, her voice shaking slightly. "About what I want. What we both want. And I think I need some space. Some time to figure out what I really want from this marriage." I noticed her hands trembling, not from sadness or uncertainty about the decision itself, but from nervousness about my reaction. There's a difference. I also noticed luggage in the hallway, just visible from where I sat. She'd already started packing. "How much time?" I asked. 7 days. Just a week to clear my head and think things through." "Starting when?" She stammered. "Tomorrow morning." "I thought you'd want to discuss it more. Talk about what this means." "What's there to discuss? You've clearly already decided." The look on her face was priceless. She'd obviously prepared for tears, for pleading, for some desperate attempt to change her mind. Instead, she got stone-cold agreement. I could see the wheels turning in her head, trying to figure out if this was some reverse psychology trick. It wasn't. I was already 3 steps ahead. "You seem surprised," I said, leaning back in my chair. "Isn't this what you wanted?" I didn't expect you to be so calm about it." Of course she didn't. In her mind, I was supposed to fall apart at the thought of losing her. What she didn't realize is that you can't lose something that's already checking out. I'd watched her drift away over the past 3 months. The late nights on her phone, the new wardrobe, the distance that felt like miles even when we were in the same room. "I'll stay at Kristen's place," she announced. "In Seaport." I noticed she knew the address by heart. Not a recent decision then. "Makes sense," I replied. "Close to all the action downtown." She paused at that comment, searching my face for any sign of emotion. But I learned long ago that showing weakness to someone already looking for the exit only speeds up their departure. "We should probably avoid contact during this time," she added. To really think things through." There it was. The real agenda. She didn't want me calling, didn't want me checking in, didn't want any interruption to whatever she had planned for these 7 days. "Absolutely," I agreed. Complete radio silence. "Starting tomorrow morning when you leave." 7 days. She left for the bedroom, looking more confused than relieved. I could practically hear her texting Kristen before she even closed the door, probably saying something like, "He took it too well. Something's wrong." I stayed at the table, processing. This wasn't about soul-searching or figuring things out. This was an exit strategy, a guilt-free transition. She wanted 7 days to publicly establish her new life before officially ending our old one. I pulled out my phone and started documenting. Screenshots of our joint calendar, our bank accounts, our shared documents. If she wanted to play games, I'd be ready with receipts. The next morning, I woke at 5:30 and went for my usual run along the Charles River. The early September air was crisp, autumn just starting to creep in. By the time I got back around 6:30, Melissa was already loading her car. The BMW I'd helped her finance. I stood in the doorway with my coffee, watching. She had 3 large suitcases, way more than 7 days required. Designer clothes, jewelry, her entire makeup collection. But she left behind the wedding photos on the mantle, the anniversary gifts I'd given her, anything with sentimental value. She was packing for her image, not her memories. You seem very prepared, I said. She jumped slightly. I just want to make sure I have everything I need. For 7 days? Or for longer? She ignored the question, keys already in her hand. Then she did something that confirmed everything I suspected. She removed her wedding ring and placed it on the kitchen counter. Interesting choice for someone who just needs space to think, I said. It feels dishonest to wear it while figuring things out, she replied defensively. Dishonest. Right. She left without looking back, her car pulling away from our building like she couldn't escape fast enough. She still had her key, of course. I hadn't thought to ask for it, and she hadn't offered. Just another detail that revealed this wasn't temporary in her mind. I stood there for a moment, then photographed the ring sitting on the counter. Then I went to the bedroom and photographed her half-empty closet. Documentation. Evidence. Pattern recognition. I texted my friend Michael. Melissa asked for a break. Something's off. Keep your eyes open. He responded immediately. Dude, seriously? You okay? I'm fine. Just watch. That Saturday afternoon, I was organizing my home office when my phone buzzed around 2:15. Michael's name appeared with a screenshot attached. Dude, WTF is this? The image showed Melissa's Instagram story from 45 minutes ago. There she was at Tap Bakery in Seaport, sitting very close to some guy I'd never seen before. His hand visible on the table near hers, fingers almost touching. The body language was unmistakable. The caption read, "Sometimes the best conversations happen over coffee. New perspectives." Day 2 of our marriage break, and she was already advertising her replacement. I stared at the screen, waiting for the anger to hit. Instead, I felt clarity. This wasn't a surprise. This was confirmation. I work with data. I recognize patterns. And this pattern had been building for months. Send me anything else you see. I texted back to Michael. I opened Instagram and checked her profile directly. We were still following each other. She hadn't bothered to hide anything. 3 posts in 24 hours, each one more revealing than the last. The first from Friday night showed her at Atlantic Fish Company on Northern Avenue. Full body shot in a dress I'd never seen. The mystery man's arm around her waist. Caption, "Here's to being brave enough to choose happiness. Living authentically." Posted 8 hours after she left me. The second from Saturday morning showed a breakfast spread with 2 coffee cups, clearly taken in someone's apartment. The exposed brick wall and industrial windows in the background screamed Seaport Loft. Caption, "Waking up to new possibilities. Fresh start." She documented an entire relationship timeline in less than 24 hours. I started screenshotting everything. Timestamps, captions, comments. Kristen had tagged someone in the bakery photo, Bradley Sutton. I spent the next hour doing what I do best. Data analysis. Bradley's LinkedIn showed he was a sales director, divorced twice. His Facebook was semi-public, and I found posts about starting fresh from 2 months ago. His Instagram history showed a pattern of photos with different women, all stylized in the same way. Professional shots, upscale restaurants, carefully curated romance. Then I found the gold. Tagged photos from an industry conference in July. The same conference Melissa had attended in Providence. There they were, in the background of a group shot. Together. 2 months ago. She'd been planning this for 2 months. One comment on an old post caught my eye. From someone named Jennifer Sutton. "You're doing it again, Brad. Disgusting." His ex-wife. Apparently, this was his pattern. Find an unhappy wife, play the savior, move on to the next one. Most men would have felt devastated, betrayed, maybe even surprised. Me? I felt clarity. Crystal clear, laser-focused clarity about exactly who I'd married and exactly what kind of game she'd been playing. She wanted to post about new beginnings. Perfect. I was about to give her a beginning she'd never forget. That evening, I spread all the evidence across my dining table. Screenshots organized by date. Bank statements showing charges at Atlantic Fish Company from the past month. Dinners I hadn't attended. A hotel charge from August when I was traveling for work. The pattern was undeniable. She'd been seeing Bradley for at least 8 weeks, maybe longer. I made copies of everything, backing it up to 3 different cloud services. Then I started packing. Sunday morning arrived with clear skies and that perfect New England fall crispness that makes you glad to be alive. The kind of morning that feels full of possibility. Perfect weather for what I had planned. I'd spent most of Saturday evening packing her things with methodical precision. Not angry packing, where you just throw everything in boxes and hope for the best. This was organized. Clinical. Each item carefully folded, each box properly labeled. I treated her belongings with more respect than she'd treated our marriage. I loaded 8 boxes into my car around 7:30 a.m., along with some larger items. The exercise bike she'd insisted we needed, used maybe twice before becoming an expensive clothes hanger. The decorative pillows that had turned our couch into an obstacle course. The coffee machine she'd bought with our joint account, the one that cost $400 and made coffee that tasted exactly the same as my $30 maker. Each one carefully labeled. M. Walsh. Personal belongings. A quick online search had told me Kristen Webb lived at 500 Atlantic Avenue. Public information, easy to find. I drove to Seaport, windows down, enjoying the morning air. The city was just waking up. Runners on the sidewalks. A few early risers heading to brunch. The Seaport district on a Sunday morning has a particular energy to it. Young, affluent, Instagram ready. Everyone there is either documenting their life or pretending to live someone else's. It was perfect. I parked across the street from Kristen's building, the luxury apartment complex where Melissa had been staying. High-rise glass and steel, the kind of place that screams, "Look at me," from every angle. The building had a small plaza area with benches and planters, visible from the street. Public space. Technically city property. Perfect for what I had in mind. I unloaded methodically, creating a neat display on the sidewalk just outside the building's entrance. Each box perfectly aligned. The wedding album on top of the center box, still in its white leather cover. Our engagement photo propped up in a frame beside it. Then I placed the sign I'd made. Clean, professional, laminated to survive the weather. It read, Melissa Walsh, belongings. Requested 7-day break to find herself. Found herself in 2 days. Collected consequences. Free to good home. I took photos from multiple angles, then got in my car and drove home. No need to watch the fallout. Visibility would create its own consequences. I spent the rest of the day as if nothing unusual had happened. Grocery shopping. Cleaning the apartment. A long afternoon reading on the couch. Normal Sunday activities. But I'd set an alarm for 4:45 p.m. Social media has rhythms, patterns. Sunday evening, when people are doom scrolling, dreading Monday, looking for distraction. That's when you post for maximum impact. At exactly 5 p.m., I posted one photo to Instagram. I timed it deliberately. Sunday evening, when people are doom scrolling, dreading Monday, looking for distraction. Maximum visibility. Simple caption. When someone asks for space, give them all of it. Day 3 of 7. Consequences collected. Moving forward. I used her hashtag, living authentically. Then I put my phone down and made dinner. Pasta carbonara, something I perfected during the pandemic. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. NPR playing softly in the background. No anxiety. No second guessing. Just the quiet satisfaction of a strategy well executed. By the time I checked my phone again at 6:30, the post had exploded. The response was immediate and nuclear. Comments were flooding in faster than I could read them. Friends, acquaintances, people I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone had an opinion. Oh my God, what happened? I knew something was off with her recent posts. Connor, I'm so sorry, man. Within 15 minutes, the real detective work began. Friends were commenting, sharing, asking questions. People who knew our real timeline started filling in the blanks for those who didn't. Someone commented, "Wait, wasn't she just posting about coffee dates?" Another, "I saw her with some guy yesterday at the waterfront." The comment section became a real-time investigation, and I didn't have to say a word. I'd simply provided the visual evidence and let the crowd do what crowds do best. Connect dots. My college roommate Chris commented, "Dude, I thought you guys were solid. When did this happen?" Someone else replied to him, "Check her recent posts. Timeline doesn't add up." And just like that, people started screenshotting Melissa's Instagram, comparing dates, building the case I'd already built in private. The truth was spreading like wildfire, and I was just watching it burn. By 9:30 that evening, the narrative had completely shifted. Kristen had posted a frantic Instagram story showing the display from her window, trying to control the damage. People are insane. You don't know the whole story. But the court of public opinion had already rendered its verdict. The replies to her story were brutal. Actually, the timeline tells the whole story. Maybe stop enabling your friends' bad decisions. The math isn't mathing, sis. Melissa's previous posts started disappearing one by one. First the breakfast photo, then the restaurant shot, then the bakery selfie. Like she thought deleting evidence would change what people had already seen, what they'd already saved. But screenshots live forever, and people had already captured everything. Her attempt at historical revision only made her look more guilty. My phone started ringing. Melissa's number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. What the hell are you doing? This is so inappropriate. Connor, please. Can we talk like adults? You're making a scene. People are taking pictures. My mother is calling me asking questions. I saved the voicemail but didn't respond. Silence is its own answer. Text messages followed. A barrage of them. This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. You're embarrassing yourself. Fine, ignore me. I screenshotted each one and went about my Sunday. Leftover pasta for dinner. A beer on the couch. The Red Sox game playing in the background. Normal, quiet, peaceful. Around noon, Michael texted, "Dude, Bradley's Instagram just went private. And his car is gone from Seaport. I think he bailed." Pattern recognition. When things get messy, serial cheaters disappear. They want the romance, not the consequences. At 1 p.m., my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Connor? This is Patricia, Melissa's mother. Hello, Patricia. I don't know what happened between you two, but Melissa is saying some terrible things about you right now. She called me this morning in tears. What is she saying? That you kicked her out. That you're harassing her online. That you've been emotionally absent for months. Would you like to see the timeline of actual events? I sent her the screenshots. Melissa's request for the break. Her posts with Bradley, dated and time-stamped. The evidence that their relationship predated our separation by months. Patricia went silent for a long moment. Then I heard her voice crack. Oh no. Oh Melissa, what did you do? It's not your fault, Patricia. You raised her. I just married her. She apologized profusely before hanging up. I felt no satisfaction from it, just confirmation. The truth was spreading organically now, and I didn't have to do anything except let it breathe. By Sunday evening, building management had texted me. Items have been removed from Plaza. Please don't return. Understood, I replied. Was just helping with a moving situation. I drove by out of curiosity. The plaza was empty. Everything gone. But I noticed people still stopping, taking photos of the empty space where the display had been. The story had outlasted the physical evidence. Melissa's Instagram account went private. Bradley's went completely dark. But the internet never forgets. Monday morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. Colleagues who'd seen the posts asked carefully if I was okay. I handled it professionally. Personal matter. Being addressed. At lunch, I met with Michael. She's been calling everyone, he said, trying to explain her side. No one's buying it. The timeline is too clear. What's she saying? That it wasn't planned. That she met Bradley during the break. That you're overreacting. Interesting. Also, apparently Bradley told someone he didn't know she was married. She wore her ring to the conference where they met. Michael shook his head. Everyone knows now. This is his pattern. Third time at least. Over the next few days, I established new routines. Longer runs along the river. Cooking actual meals instead of accommodating her preferences. Calling my family. Realizing how isolated I'd become. The apartment felt larger, cleaner, more mine. I wasn't filling time to avoid thinking. I was genuinely enjoying solitude. Melissa kept trying to reach me. More voicemails, more text messages, all alternating between apologetic and aggressive. I saved everything but responded to nothing. Silence was worse for her than anger would be. She needed engagement, argument, dramatic scenes. I was denying her the narrative she wanted to create. Wednesday evening, day 6 of the break. I was cooking pasta when I heard a key in the door. I'd half expected this, half hoped I wouldn't have to deal with it. But here we were. The lock turned. The door opened. Melissa walked in without knocking, without announcement, like she still had the right to be here unannounced. We need to talk. Right now? Her voice had that edge to it. That tone she used when she was trying to project authority she didn't actually have. I recognized it from 1,000 small arguments over the years. The voice that said, "I'm right, and you need to admit it." I didn't turn from the stove, where I was making a simple aglio e olio. Garlic, olive oil, red pepper flakes. Simple things done well. Do we? Don't do that. Don't act like you don't care. I'm not acting. I stirred the pasta, watching the water bubble. The kitchen smelled like garlic and olive oil, comforting and ordinary. A stark contrast to the tension filling the room. She moved into the kitchen, invading my space like she used to when we were actually married, and that kind of proximity meant something. "This whole stunt you pulled." Stunt. I turned off the burner and finally looked at her. She looked different than she had on Friday morning. The confidence was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and an old sweater I recognized from college. This wasn't the polished, Instagram-ready Melissa. This was someone who'd had a very bad few days. The boxes, the sign, posting on social media. It was cruel. I turned to face her fully, leaning against the counter. "I returned your belongings. You asked for space. 7 days, complete silence. I was respecting your wishes." "You know that's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean, exactly?" The question hung in the air. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Watching her try to formulate an answer that didn't make her look bad was almost fascinating. Almost. She finally sat down at the counter, deflating like someone had let the air out. "I meant space to figure things out. Time to think. Not you publicly humiliating me in front of everyone we know." Interesting word choice. Humiliating. Everyone is talking. My family won't stop calling. My friends think I'm... She stopped herself. "Think you're what?" She looked down at her hands. "That I handled this wrong." "Did you?" The silence stretched between us. I didn't fill it. One thing I'd learned in my years of analyzing data. Sometimes you have to let the gaps speak for themselves. "Look," she finally said. "Maybe I moved too fast with Bradley." "Bradley? Is that his name?" Her eyes flashed with something like anger. "You know his name. You've obviously been stalking my social media. You probably know everything about him by now." "I haven't looked at your profiles once. Friends sent me screenshots." "Big difference." "Because you asked them to." "No. Because they were concerned about me. Because they could see what I couldn't while I was still pretending our marriage was working. They cared. That's what friends do." I walked to the fridge, pulled out a beer, took my time opening it. Let her sit with that. Let her think about who'd actually shown up for whom during all of this. "How long have you known Bradley?" I asked, taking a sip. "That's not relevant. Humor me. Connor, we're not doing this. You met at the July conference in Providence. Rhode Island Convention Center. Industry Summit. Sales and Marketing Professionals of New England. You extended your stay by 2 days." The color drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. "How did you?" I looked at publicly available information. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. All public profiles. Yours. His. His mutual connections. It's amazing what people share when they think no one's paying attention. "You investigated him?" I looked at the data. It's what I do. And the data showed me he's divorced twice. Both times, interestingly, for affairs with married women. It's his pattern. Find an unhappy wife, play the knight in shining armor, move on when things get complicated. She stood up, pacing now. "It's not like that with us. Right? You're different. You're special. He's really changed this time." "We are different. Are you?" I set down my beer. "Because from where I'm standing, you're just the latest in a very predictable pattern. And based on how fast he disappeared when I made things public, I'd say he's already recognized that pattern himself and moved on to easier prey." Her face crumpled slightly. Direct hit. I almost felt bad. Almost. "How long has it been over between us, Melissa? Really?" She didn't answer, just kept pacing, arms wrapped around herself like she was cold despite the warmth of the kitchen. "I came here to see if we could work this out," she finally said, voice smaller now. "Work what out?" "You already worked things out with Bradley." That was a mistake. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was confused, emotional. Day 2. You posted couple photos on day 2 of our break. Breakfast in his apartment. Dinner the night before. That's not confused. That's deliberate. I was trying to. She stopped, realizing she had no good answer. "You were trying to what? Test the waters publicly? Make sure your exit looked good for social media? Control the narrative so you came out looking like the brave one who chose happiness instead of the cheater who planned her exit?" Fine. The word came out sharp, defensive. Yes, I met someone who actually paid attention to me, who made me feel seen, who didn't just come home every night and ignore me while you stared at spreadsheets. When did I not pay attention? You were always working, always tired, always focused on your career. I was working to pay for this apartment, I said, keeping my voice level. To pay for your car. To pay for the lifestyle you insisted we maintain. The expensive dinners. The weekend trips. The designer clothes that you just had to have. Someone had to fund the Instagram-perfect life you wanted to project. So now it's about money? No, it's about honesty. It's about the fact that we never actually had it. You wanted a relationship that looked good online, and I wanted a relationship that felt good offline. Those are two different things. She stood up. I want to try. Counseling. Real communication. Why? Because we're married. Because we owe it to. Because Bradley disappeared when things got messy. She went silent. I saw his car leave Sunday morning. I continued. Before you even woke up. He's done this before. He'll do it again. But not with you. Because you're not useful to him anymore. Tears formed in her eyes. You don't understand what it's like. To be abandoned? Actually, I do. I never abandoned you. You left our marriage months ago. Thursday was just the announcement. I walked to the counter and pulled out a document from my bag. I filed for divorce yesterday. You what? Irreconcilable differences. Very straightforward. You can't just. You asked for a break. I'm giving you a permanent one. This is insane. One mistake and you're throwing away 4 years. One mistake? Melissa, you planned an affair, orchestrated an exit strategy, documented your new relationship publicly, and now you want marriage counseling because your backup plan fell through. I came here to fix this. No, you came here because you have nowhere else to go. The truth sat between us like a living thing. I need my key, I said. Connor, my key, please. She removed it from her keychain and placed it on the counter, right next to where she'd left her wedding ring 6 days ago, both items sitting there like abandoned artifacts. I really am sorry, she whispered. I believe you're sorry it didn't work out how you wanted. That's not fair. No, it wasn't. She left. I locked the door behind her and added the chain lock. New boundaries. New life. I felt relieved, not sad. That conversation should have had happened 6 months ago. She was never going to be honest until forced. The next morning, I met with a divorce attorney. I brought all my documentation in a neat folder. Timeline, screenshots, financial records from the past months. The attorney looked impressed. This is the most prepared client I've ever had. I work with data. Evidence matters. We filed for divorce. No drama, just paperwork. Irreconcilable differences. With my documentation, the settlement would be straightforward. No kids. Simple assets. Clean break. Walking out of the attorney's office, I stopped on the sidewalk and looked at my left hand. The wedding ring I'd worn for 4 years sat there, suddenly feeling heavy. Foreign. I pulled it off and dropped it in my pocket. It felt strange at first, that bare finger. But by the time I got home, I barely noticed. The next few months passed in a blur of positive changes. October brought my promotion at work. November brought the finalized divorce. December brought new traditions with friends. Ice skating on Boston Common. Holiday parties where I felt comfortable alone. A woman from accounting named Emma asked me to coffee. I surprised myself by saying yes. The conversation was easy, honest, no games. She was straightforward, independent, had her own life. We made plans for a second date, then a third. By January, we were seeing each other regularly, taking things slow but genuine. Through mutual friends, I heard updates about Melissa. Still at her job, but struggling. Bradley completely out of the picture. Kristen friendship strained. Dating apps weren't going well. She rarely posted on social media anymore. She asks about you sometimes. Michael told me once. I don't ask about her, I replied. 4 months after the break, on a Saturday afternoon in late January, I ran into her at Whole Foods in Charles River Plaza. January in Boston is typically brutal, but that particular Saturday was different. One of those rare winter days where the sun sparkles on snow and the cold feels refreshing instead of punishing. I was shopping for a dinner party, wearing running gear from my morning 5-mile run. My cart had wine, cheese, fresh ingredients. I felt good, healthy, whole. I was examining avocados and produce when I saw her. Melissa appeared at the other end of the section. We spotted each other simultaneously, that awkward freeze of recognition. She looked smaller, Thinner from stress, not intention. Target clothes instead of designer labels. Practical ponytail, minimal makeup. Her cart held frozen dinners for 1 and 3 bottles of wine. My cart, by contrast, was full of fresh ingredients meant to be shared. Hi, she said. Hello. We stood there for a moment, separated by about 15 feet and 4 months of consequences. The last time I'd seen her, she'd been leaving my apartment with her keys surrendered, her attempt at reconciliation rejected. Now here we were, strangers who used to know everything about each other. She moved closer, pushing her cart slowly like she was approaching something dangerous. How are you? Good. Really good, actually. And I meant it. The words came out easy, honest. You? I'm managing. Managing. The word choice was telling. Not thriving. Not happy. Just managing. Survival mode. I saw her eyes scan my cart, my appearance, the wedding ring that was notably absent from my hand where it used to sit. For months ago, taking it off had felt strange. Now I barely noticed its absence. You look great, she said, and there was something in her voice. Not quite envy, but something adjacent to it. Recognition of what she'd given up. Thank you. I've been running more, cooking more, taking care of myself. I gestured to my cart. Tonight, I'm having friends over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just good company and good food. That's nice. She looked down at her own cart, seemed to realize what it said about her life, and shifted slightly as if to hide it. How's work? I asked, not because I particularly cared, but because that's what you ask in these situations. Fine. Same job, same desk, same commute. She paused. I heard you got promoted. Congratulations. Thank you. Senior analyst. Happened in October. More responsibility, better pay, better team. The silence stretched between us, filled with all the things we weren't saying. The produce section continued bustling around us, other people's normal lives proceeding while we stood in the rubble of ours. I heard you're seeing someone, she finally said, and there it was. The real reason she'd approached me instead of pretending she hadn't seen me. Where did you hear that? Instagram. Someone tagged you at a restaurant. You looked happy. Yes, I've been seeing someone. Emma. She works at my company, in accounting. We've been on several dates. Is it serious? The question hung in the air. I could have brushed it off, could have given some vague non-answer. Instead, I decided on honesty. Too early to say for certain, but it's promising. She's straightforward, honest, has her own life and interests. No games, no performance, just genuine. Each word was a small knife, and I could see them landing. Not because I was trying to hurt her, but because the truth often does hurt when you're on the wrong side of it. She looked down. Good for you. I'm glad you found someone. What about you? I asked, though I already knew the answer from the mutual friends who occasionally updated me even though I'd stopped asking. Not really dating. Tried some apps, but she trailed off with a shrug that said everything. The apps had probably been brutal. The kind of brutal that happens when your failed marriage and very public affair are easy to Google. Another pause. Then she straightened up slightly, gathering courage for what came next. Connor, I want to apologize. Really, truly apologize. Not because I want anything from you, but because you deserve to hear it. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or ulterior motive. Found only exhaustion and what appeared to be genuine regret. Okay, I handled everything terribly. The break, Bradley, the way I went about leaving. All of it. I was selfish. I hurt you. I destroyed something that was actually good, chasing something that turned out to be nothing. You did all those things, I agreed. She winced slightly at my bluntness, but continued. I've had a lot of time to think. About what I had. About what I threw away. You were stable. You were reliable. You were present in ways I didn't appreciate at the time. Boring, I offered. No. God, no. I thought that then, but I was wrong. I was so wrong about so many things. I was chasing some fantasy version of life that doesn't actually exist. The Instagram version. The rom-com version. And in chasing it, I lost the real thing. And now? I asked. Now I live alone in Alston and eat frozen dinners. Reality showed up. It did. I paused, then decided to ask the question I'd been curious about. What happened with Bradley? She looked down at her cart. It fell apart within a week. Turned out he was seeing someone else the whole time he was seeing me. Another woman, even while I was still married to you. Ironic. I deserved it, she said quietly. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, you got it. She looked at me directly. Do you ever think about what if we tried harder? No. Never. I tried hard enough for both of us. For months. You checked out long before you asked for that break. I know. So no, I don't wonder. I know exactly what would have happened. You would have stayed until the next exciting option appeared. She didn't argue. You're different, she said. Harder. Not harder. Clearer. There's a difference. I destroyed something good. You revealed something that wasn't as good as I thought. We weren't right. I wanted us to be, but we weren't. I wish I'd realized that before I blew everything up. Sometimes things have to burn before you see clearly. Are you happy? Really? I am. Genuinely. I'm glad. You deserve it. So do you. Eventually. When you stop performing for an audience. She absorbed this. That's fair. I checked my watch. I need to finish shopping. Guests arriving at 6. Of course. I started to leave, then turned back. Melissa? The break you asked for? Best thing you ever gave me. Her eyes watered. I'm glad something good came from it. Several things did. Just none for us. I left her standing in produce, alone with her cart of frozen meals and wine bottles. I finished my shopping unbothered. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma asking about tonight. I smiled and responded. That evening, I prepared dinner in my apartment. Friends arrived, and the apartment filled with laughter, conversation, genuine connection. No thought of Melissa. No lingering sadness. Just presence in my own life. For months ago, I thought my life was falling apart. Turns out it was falling into place. She wanted a break to find happiness somewhere else. I found it right here, in the life I built without her. Sometimes the best revenge is no revenge at all. Sometimes it's just living well. Playing carelessly comes with consequences. She collected hers. I collected my peace. 7 days. That's what she asked for. What she got was the rest of her life to think about it. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.